Hello and welcome to another episode of PJ Talks. I'm joined today with Hayley Quinn, who is the Managing Director of Swarovski UK. Hi Hayley, thank you so much for joining me today.
Stacey.
Very busy times, I'm sure, so thank you for your time. So I just wondered, first of all, since the government kind of shut down all the stores, what's been the focus really for Swarovski during this time of lockdown?
I think, like all businesses affected by COVID, the primary concern for the first couple of weeks was actually dealing with the fact that you can't have significant sums of money going out when you don't have significant sums coming in. So for the first probably couple of weeks, it was about cash flow, what it would mean for our partners' cash flow, because obviously they are a big source of revenue from our perspective. But once that was out of the way, then actually for us, we've been working on a three-stage plan. First bit, at some point, fingers crossed, we've got to get back to normal, whatever the new normal looks like.
Yeah.
And for us, that's very much about how do we reopen our own stores? What tools and materials and support do we need to provide all our employees so that they can provide some sort of personalised customer experience in a socially distanced world? And I know that's a challenge for all of us in the jewellery industry. We also have to think slightly beyond that, because we also have to consider what our partners might need in terms of supporting them get back to business. It's tough for us, business our size. It's even tougher when you're a small business. So the first step was very much the immediate crisis management. The second one is then we've got to think about Christmas. If we leave it too long to start planning Christmas, Christmas will be upon us, and Christmas is too big and too important. So step two is very much about planning Christmas. And then step three, which we're really only just starting now, is thinking about the new reality, 2021 and beyond, because everybody keeps telling you that the new reality will be different from the old. So what do we need to do to set the business up for 2021 and beyond?
Amazing. So a lot to be doing. Very busy as always. And obviously with the stores shut, the focus has kind of had to be on digital. Just wondering if you've made any changes or how you've been kind of utilising your online channels to kind of still boost business and get money in at this time.
Well, we're very fortunate. Our digital business, our online business, is about 20% of our total business anyway. So it's already quite a big proportion. That's held up incredibly well. In fact, we've even got 100% growth, which you'd sort of expect at the moment, but that seems to have been replicated by quite a few of our partners with big business. So there's definitely been a move towards online, which bodes well for the brand in the long term and has certainly helped with that cash flow discussion we were talking about. Beyond that, in terms of the more social media and sort of advertising digitally, to be fair, we've kept it quite low key. We've maintained our Spark Delight conversation, which is obviously the way that we connect with our customers, but we haven't created any new stories or new messages. It's pretty much been just leveraging what we've already got out there in the digital sphere.
Amazing, that's great to hear. And if all goes to plan, hopefully stores can be open on June 15th, which is probably easier if you've got one store, but obviously you've got a whole empire out there of stores of different sizes and in different locations. How have you even begun preparing to reopen those stores?
That's a really good question. Now, we're quite fortunate. We're members of the BRC, and the BRC provided, they actually worked with the government to define the guidelines for retail, which we had probably 2 or more weeks in advance of when they were actually published. So we knew what was coming, and we knew it was pretty much going to be in line with what had happened for retail. The difficult bit has been not knowing when. So you haven't actually been able to develop any kind of definitive critical path. And if you're anything like most big retailers, we love a critical path. What we've decided to do is to decide what are the key criteria on which we're going to make a decision. So for us, that was things like, how easy will it be to operate a particular store in a social distancing way? And also, quite frankly, what level of footfall do we need to achieve for the store to be profitable? So once you've decided what the key decision-making criteria are, then actually you don't need to worry about when you're going to make that decision. You know how you're going to make it. So that's the sort of replacement for the critical path. And then the operations team have been very busy doing care packs, sanitizers, face masks, screens, all of that tape for the floor, and developing the guidelines and the support tools. And lastly, she says lastly, but it's probably primarily, we've had to think really hard about how we engage with our employees. Because actually, for this to work effectively, they have to be, one, very safe, very secure, but completely committed to supporting having customers back into our stores. So we've done quite a lot of engagement. We've been making little videos. We've been keeping in touch with our employees as much as we're allowed to on furlough. But more importantly, we've been really thinking about how we empower our store managers to make sure that they can and will do whatever's right for their customers and to protect their teams.
And what's the kind of feel? Are your managers feeling confident about returning? Because I know with schools, obviously, there's this mix. Should we reopen them? Should we not? Whereas I feel like retailers are quite positive about reopening. Are your managers feeling quite confident about it?
That's a good question. And I would say it's a really mixed bag. We have taken a view to very much ask our employees for their feedback on how confident they feel. So as part of the risk assessment process, we've actually asked all employees, do you have mitigating circumstances? Have you got childcare problems? Do you live with an elderly, shielding relative? So that actually we can say, well, do you know what? These 5 people are really happy to come back to work, but these 5 aren't. So we're going to ask these 5 to come back first. So we're trying to be led very much by our people and to empower our people to help us, rather than to be too autocratic in the process, because if we don't get their support and buy-in, it won't work for anybody. So far so good, but I'll tell you once we've got some stores open.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to the stores reopening.
Yeah, you and me both.
I'm just looking forward to shopping myself. But so when you do reopen, obviously you've mentioned a bit what will the footfall be like. What do you think are going to be the challenges for Swarovski kind of trading post-lockdown?
And this is a really fun question. I'm not sure if the biggest challenge is there is no footfall on the high street, or there is pent-up demand and everybody comes rushing back to shop, and then how do we cope with it? So I think for us right now, the challenge is actually trying to work through both of those scenarios and put some contingency plans in place that allow us to realise whatever the opportunities are that could come with either of those or anywhere in between.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Of course, I'm hoping for the latter as opposed to the former, but we'll see. We'll see.
And obviously you're kind of going through this process now with the rest of the industry, but what advice would you give any other fellow jewelers or your partners for as they prepare during this time to get ready for reopening?
And I think that is hard. I think based on some of the experience we've had, being part of a global business, we've already got lots of stores that have reopened, and everybody is experiencing something slightly different. Everybody's coming up against slightly different challenges. So I think the one piece of advice I would give is try and work on situation analysis, work out what the likely scenarios are, and then have rough plans for each scenario. Because if you think this is going to happen and only plan for this, I guarantee something else is going to happen. So try and stay open-minded, try and stay flexible, try and empower your own employees and organisation to make as many decisions as they can on the ground. They're the ones dealing with the customer, they're the ones in front line. But ultimately, bear in mind, whatever you think is going to happen, probably something else is going to happen. And good luck.
Amazing. Yes, I think everyone's going to need a bit of that. Well, thank you so much, Hayley. It's been so great to catch up with you and to catch you just before the stores reopen. And I wish you luck with all the Swarovski stores reopening soon.
Thank you very much, Stacey.